Okay, guys, so currently we have looked at bringing our data in to Power Pivot to create our data model. We have created our data model, and here we are looking at how we can now create pivot tables out of that data model. So I demonstrated in the previous video how we created this pivot table with the data model, and then we basically sorted the name, right, so that we can have it in the format that we expect our reports to be in. Right? So you can see revenue, other income, cost, expenses, and you have a grand total. Ideally, this grand total is supposed to be the profit or loss. But currently, because these are all positive, right, it's summing it up. So you can see over here, it's summing instead of lessing out, what's the word? Lessing out these from that. So we can tweak this. We can tweak this measure so that it will treat costs and expenses as negative so that our grand total can also calculate as such. Okay, so let's come here to measures, manage measure, and let's tweak this guy. Okay, so currently it says calculates some general amounts. Then we have these two conditions, right? Let's see if we do multiplied by F. Okay, so we say if COA name is equal to cost of sales, right? Or, so you can also use double pipe for or instead of the letters OR. So if CO name is equal to cost of sales or CO name is equal to expenses, right? So that's our filter. And then if it's true, give me -1. Otherwise, give me 1. Right? You see? Now let's check this. Good. We have an error. Now, the reason why I get an error is because in DAX, right, the formulas are not they are column based. They are not rule level based, right? So you can't just do equal to CO name is equal to cost of sales, right? If you do this the same thing in AppSheet, you know you'll get an error because you're comparing an entire list to just a text, right? Which doesn't work. So you need to make it rule specific. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. So let me bring this down. We're going to say var, right? Var, and we're going to call this name, var name, right? It's going to be equal to selected value, right? And then we just call our column, so COA name, something like this, right? Now we'll create another variable based on the first variable we just created. So var, this is going to be factor. It's going to be if. Now we have a variable that is called name, and then it's selected value. So based on the rule we are dealing with, it's going to take its corresponding COA name. Okay, now we're going to say name, which is our variable, which is this guy. So we're going to come down and select this guy. Name is equal to cost of sales or name tab to select is equal to expenses. I want 1. I want -1, else I want 1. Good. So now we've created this variable, right? Now we can return. So you can say return. Whenever you create a variable, you need to return it. Okay, so we're going to say equal to return factor multiplied by our calculation. So instead of doing the if calculation here, we're going to take this off. We're going to have something like this. So factor, which is this guy, which is equal to if name is equal to cost of sales or name is equal to expenses, give me -1. Otherwise, give me 1, right? And you say name is equal to this. Now, would or be a good instance? Let's try this. Let's try this for now. I think we need to use end, but let's try this. Okay. It's not valid or placed incomplete. Please review the correct expression. Oh, okay. So we can't use name because I think name seems to be a keyword in our data. We already have a field called name, so that will not be appropriate. So let's use another name. Let's call this class. Let's use class rather instead of name. So I'm going to change all this to class. Um, Name wouldn't work, but it's a good learning experience. So let's change everything to class. Okay. So we have class. Now let's check our formula again. Good. Our formula works now. So when I click OK and I close this, I expect to have good. So now I have negatives for all our cost of sales. Good. But the problem is our gross profit is still giving us a positive number, right? And that's because our formula said that if the name for the selected rule is either cost of sales or revenue, then you want it to give you what? -1 times the amount. Right? Other than that, it should give you the amount times 1, right? So what's happening over here? They're applying for all of these. But grand total, you would think grand total is the sum of all this, no? But what grand total does is that grand total takes all the values for all the relating elements that have been selected in the rule section and sums them up. Now, because we have different names over there, we have revenue, other income for all the items selected or filtered, it can't apply that condition we set in there, right? Because it's not rule specific for the grand total. So we need to tweak the formula again so that the grand total is also affected. So what we're going to do is come here, come to manage. I'm going to edit this. Okay, we're going to take off this selector guy, selector value. We don't need him. For what we're coming to do, he will not really help us, right? We can leave class equal to COA, or we can just replace class with COA everywhere we want to, right? There's a better way to do this instead of using the selector value, and that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to paste this over here. And then I'm going to remove this class variable over here. Now, instead of using the selector value, creating a variable with a selector value, what we're going to do is going to do a sum, a iteration that works, a summation that works at a rule by rule level. So we're going to use sum x, right? So sum x, good. So this summation, it returns the sum of an expression evaluated for each rule in the table, right? Good. All you need to do is specify what you want the summation on each rule should be based on. So we're going to use another function called values, and then we're going to call our table that COA name. Good. So this guy is going to be the driver. Okay, so COA name, and then we have factored blah blah blah. We just close our brackets over here. Good. And then click check. This works. And we click OK. Good. And click close. Good. And then now you have this in place. So now your grand total is actually considering the names over here. So you see this 22905 considers is equal to this 22905. Good. So we have this in place. I want to cut this guy, bring him to the bottom here. Good. And then if we put our month in the rule section, so where is our calendar table? I can see it over here under active. I'll go to all, click this calendar table, bring month name to columns. And when I bring month name to columns, I can see the months over here, but then they are listed out alphabetically. So we have April, August, December. That's not what we want. We want it January, February, March chronologically. So we'll go into par pivot, and then we'll do the same thing we did for the names. Okay, we'll sort it by a number. So we'll come here to power pivot, come to manage. Okay, and then we navigate to calendar. We select our month name, and then we say sort this by, we're going to sort this by the month number because it's a month. Click OK. Good. And that's it, right? So when you click this and you come back here, you see you have January, February, March. This is something I personally wish we had in AppSheet, right? Yeah, we can't do this, and that's why we have to bring the numbers in front of the alphabet names. Okay, so let me just do this. Good. So now we can see our monthly income statement over here nicely. And there's a total over here, 2295. That's looking nicely. This 2295 should equate to our balance sheet over here. So let me filter this by years, or calendar. I'm going to bring year as a slicer. So you right click and say add a slicer. 2025, we have 243. That's the grand total. Okay, that's not making any sense. Let's change this to better design. So come to design, come to report layout. No, come to subtotals. Yes, and then show subtotals at the bottom. Good. Okay, so we have current assets over here. That's 939012. We have total of current liabilities, and we have total of equity. If I select these two, I have 1492, which is obviously higher than this. Okay, so there's a problem with our retained earnings. Our retained earnings is showing 2,830,713. Okay, so you notice over here we have 22905 as the profit, right? But then over here we are having 830,713 as a profit, which is ridiculous. Now this filter is working on only our balance sheet. It's not working on our profit statement. So we can correct that by right-clicking on our slicer, report connection, and then we're going to connect it to the other pivot tables. We have another pivot table here and here. So all pivot tables should be connected to this particular slicer. Okay, so now in 2025, the profit is 276. This is still 830,713. Okay, so now we can investigate why this is the case. Okay, so let's just double click on this, and then Excel will give us the breakdown of that value. That's one feature of pivot tables that I love so much. Okay, so now it's telling us that, let me sum everything here. Right, good. So if I select everything here instead of just these two records are what causes the entire problem we have over here. If I sum everything up, okay, we have the 276,904 we are supposed to get as profit. So these two records actually is not supposed to be there. And this is something I expected. And that's why I said we'll go back to our Power Query, because these two records was actually an error during our app script videos. Okay, we didn't need to create another script to send this profit into retained earnings. Just the first script was enough. So if you don't really understand what I'm talking about, that's fine. All you need to know is we need to go back to data, come to queries, just because of the data, not something you always have to do. Just because of this data, we need to come here to GL, double click on GL, right? And then we're just going to do some filtering. This filtering will help us delete those rules that we do not actually need, okay? I will also create a video in AppSheets on how we can correct that from the script side. Okay, so we'll come here, and then under description, we're just going to click on this, and then we're just going to uncheck move to retain earnings. Okay, so once that is done, we can click OK here. Good, and then we know that that is filtered out. Now we can come back to close and load. And then now we expect the profit at the end of the year to be equal to what will come into retained earnings as profit. Let's see. Still loading, still calculating. Good. So now this is our retained earnings of 276,904. And over here we have 276,904. Good. So our balance sheet should balance. Okay. So if you take, hold on. You take this and you sum it up to this, right? You have 939012, 939012. Fantastic. So our balance sheet balances. Okay. There's one more thing we need to do, right? If I come here and I bring the months into columns, okay, you're going to notice that the only time our balance sheet balances is when it's collapsed, because when it's expanded, all the revenue comes in December. Do you get it? So from January, February, March, April, May, June, we are not getting any profit or loss. Nothing shows up. and it comes into December. That's also another issue with the script that we did that we need to fix. So, yes, when you come back here, you notice that the transaction date for all this move to PL is 31st December 2025, right? Right. What we should have done, or what we're going to do, is to change it so that whenever there's an income statement transaction, the transaction date is also going to be the same day the transaction occurred, or at least that month, so that the profit should remain in that month. I hope this is clear. Good. So instead of having all the profit sent to December 31st, 2025, what we're going to do is we're going to move the profit to the month they belong to. Okay? Don't worry, that can be done. So again, we'll go back to Power Query. So you can also click on this icon to come to Power Query, double click on GL, and we are going to try and locate all the transactions that belong to our so what we're going to do is basically we want to update the transaction date for all those whose description is moved to P&L. So instead of the dates being 31st December 2025, we want to update this, right? So that it will be the date that the transaction actually occurred. Do you get it? Now, how do we know which date the transaction actually occurred? I'm glad you asked. The way we can know which day the transaction occurred is finding the relationship between the moved to and the actual transactions. So this is what I mean. Now, we've taken that column off, but if we bring it back, we'll actually see what I mean. So if we come back to remove other columns, click here, right? The ID column is something that's actually going to be very useful in this case. So I'm going to bring back the ID column. Now, this is why this is so useful. When I check ID column, it comes back. Do you see? Good. And then I can have it back over here with me. Good. Now, we want to be able to locate all the transactions, the move to transaction, we want to locate when they occurred. So take, for instance, this guy, right? He's a move to transaction. This is his ID. Now, the way the script was designed is that it always takes the original transaction's ID and then it just concatenates it with the account number. So if I search by this ID, I think I explained this earlier, but let me do that again. You see these three transactions, right? Good. So these three transactions are all related. They relate with the same transaction. They all relate to this part payment of in-person services. Good. So their transaction date is supposed to be this instead of 31st December 2025. So what we are simply going to do, right, is going to write a formula that says that if the description is moved to P&L, we want to take the ID, we want to extract everything before the dash. So we're going to create a simple column that is going to extract the ID if it's equal to the dash. Is that okay? Okay, so now let's clear our filter. So I can just click on this X to cancel this filter. That was just to demonstrate. So what we can do is we can just do a simple extract. Extract everything before the hyphen. So you come here, add column, and we're going to say extract everything, thanks before delimiter. Good. So specify a delimiter, that's this. And we just click OK. Now the issue is that those do not have the delimiter also appearing, but that's fine. Okay. All we're going to do is going to create another formula that says that if this is equal to this, then we want now. If not, we want what we have over here. So we'll come to add column again, create a conditional column. So we're going to say that if text before delimiter is equal to what is currently in the ID. So what is currently in the ID, that means we don't want it. So if this is currently the same as what's over there, then we don't want it because that means it's the same thing. It's a correct transactions. What we want is the moved to PL. Okay, we could also have said if this is equal to description, give me the one over here. But it's fine. So we'll come here, select a column, and then we'll click this, and then we're going to select the text before delimiter values. And click OK. Good. Good. Now, what does this achieve? Now, what this achieves is it helps us to locate the parent of each of these write-off lines. So this is this parent ID. We can use this to actually find the date. Do you get it? Sort of like a lookup. So we have this in place. If you scroll down, you find that all these have been done as well. Okay, I'm going to set this to text. Good. Now that we have this in place, what we're going to do is we're going to do a merge, just like we did for the COA. We'll come to home, we'll come to merge queries. All right, we'll come to merge queries, and then what we're going to do is we're going to merge. So I'm going to say custom is equal to take the same GL and merge up with the parent like this. We're going to click OK. So it gives us a measure. And then here, we're going to click on this icon, right? Take off the original. And all we are interested here now is the transaction dates. Okay, we're just going to click OK. Good. So now what happens is all those that are moved to PL, we have their dates in here, right? All those that are moved to PL, we have their dates in there. So if you scroll down, let's scroll down a bit more. Good. So those that are not moved to PL, they do not have their dates. So these ones are blank. Good. So now that we have the original parent date, we can now create what? A transaction date that replaces this 31st, 2025 with the actual date the transaction occurred. I hope you are following. Good. So I'm going to create a new column again. I know I've created a lot of columns, but then bear with me. So I'm going to create a new column. I'm going to call this, it's going to be a conditional column. Good. I'm going to call this the new trans dates. Good. So basically going to say if, then I'm going to say if trans dates is equal to now, basically it's empty, then now this trans date 1, that's a new one, right? If trans date 1 is equal to now, then I want you to give me the value in trans dates. That means we want to stick to the old one. But if it's not empty, then give me what is in trans date now. My trans date 1, not now. I'm going to click OK. Good. Great. So now we have something we can work with. You see what we have now is picking up the right values. Good. So now that we have this, we can easily take away the columns we don't want. So I'm going to click Home, and I'll say Choose Columns. Okay, and I'm going to uncheck the ones I don't need. I don't need this guy, I don't need this guy, I don't need this guy. Okay, they were all helper columns. They've done their jobs. And I'm going to take trans date out as well because this guy is going to be the new trans date. I'm going to click OK. Good. I'm going to change this to dates. And then I'll come here and then take off the new and make this guy trans dates. Good. So I've basically gone through the entire process, done all the cleaning, and then now I have cleaned the trans date so that we can have the move to profit occurring in the month that it actually what happened, or the transaction actually happened. So let's click load and let's see what the impact will be on our financial report. Good. So now what has happened is that now you see that the retained earnings has values what in every single month. Okay, so if I select this and then I compare this to these two, so this is what 43623.85. I select this and that, I should get the same amount 43623.85. So that means at every month or at every point in time, the balance sheet is also what balancing, right? This is also what we want. Is that okay? So now we've been able to balance our income statement, getting us the right profit, because we've made the expenses negative, and then now we've been able to work on our balance sheet so that the profit comes in every month. All right, guys, we're going to pause it over here, and in the next video, we're going to actually start building our KPIs.